I'm filling in the Safe Seanet report, which is required to re-enter Norway, and I'm just on the customs page where they want to know what articles we have in. And we're off. We left Longyearbyen tonight at 6:15. We filled up the tanks up to the rim, and now we have to get out of Isfjorden, which is a bit of a, we'll have some wind against us for the first couple of hours just coming into Isfjorden, and then once we turn around south the wind should die off, and probably for the next day we'll have to motor until the south coast of Spitsbergen, and there we should have some wind coming from the northeast. That's at least what the forecast says, so let's see what we're being dealt with. At the moment we're motoring with about 4.5 knots. We're going slow, not too many revs, just to not go too hard on the diesel tank, and we think we might be in Tromsø on Sunday evening or in the night to Monday somewhere. That's how it looks at the moment. We'll see what cards we're being dealt with. We've decided to go now, so now we have to take what comes. The noise on a sailboat can sometimes be quite annoying, particularly when we run on their engine. We normally play some mellow background music on the video. This is the raw noise. Good morning. It's Thursday, 17th of July, and it's 9:30 in the morning. I'm on watch. I had a nice long sleep. Catherine let me sleep until just before 9 o'clock. So, and I went off watch at 1 o'clock, then watched the weather until 1:30. So I had a good sleep. Very kind of Catherine to let me sleep that long. Anton still down below, he gets some well-deserved rest. He was on watch after me. There's no wind at all at the moment. The sea is very glassy, and we're doing about 5.2 knots. We're motoring at very low revs, 1750, just to minimize the usage of diesel. With this we should probably be around 4 liters of diesel an hour. We should have enough fuel on board to make it all on the engine if needed. So that's the calculation. If we go on like that, we should be in Tromsø Monday morning, early morning, but we hope that we will get some wind, that we can sail something, and that would be a bit faster than the slow motoring, and also could give us the opportunity to then go a bit faster because we have more diesel. It's just a patient game now, and it's not very fun to motor that, but we rather have a window with not too strong winds, and that's how it's predicted, than to come into very bad weather up here. It's actually quite warm here under the canopy, nice and cozy with the sun warming it up behind the windows. Outside it's quite cold, it's about 7 degrees, and there's a slight breeze now, 5 knots from the front, so it's a bit cold outside, so we're glad having this construction that shields us. Maybe some word to our fuel capacity. So we have our main tank. In our main tank we had 230 liters. Of course it was full to the rim, and then we have cans. We have 10 cans of 20 liters on deck. That's the yellow ones you can see. And then we also have 5 cans that we always carry full as a reserve in the cockpit locker, so that gives us a total of 530 liters at the beginning, and we just have to make sure that with these 530 liters we make it to the next fuel station. We expect stronger wind later, but now the sea state is flat, so we top up the fuel tank. You have to make hay while the sun shines.
When all the crows decide to meet, they settle down beneath my feet. I've got it right and I got it wrong, but I learned my lesson hanging on. Come sit here with me by the fire and let it go for a little while.
Okay, so how do we do that best, space-wise?
You put it up there before, do you not want to do that?
Yes, but we have to do one after the other, so and I have to hold them up. I think that
Yeah.
the hose. Okay?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Oh, this brake wasn't
Sorry, Anton.
Sorry.
Is that the
But just,
full fuel at all?
to make you awake.
Yeah. Just checking.
Sorry.
The only thing that was for me, and I saw the angels coming down, and they sang a song and sang it loud, and I still remember parts of it, and the yellow glorious were lit. All is in our hands.
We've been traveling for 19 hours. We've covered 95 nautical miles and we filled 80 liters of fuel. Doing a quick calculation, that says we're using 4.2 liters of diesel an hour, and we're using 0.85 liters of diesel per nautical mile so far. So going back on our project, we have 450 nautical miles to go. We have 450 liters left on board. If we use these 450 levels at the steady rate of 4.2, motoring everything, that gives us roughly 105 hours to go, and that's 525 nautical miles. Compared to 450 to go, that should leave us with like 70 to 80 liters in the tank. So fingers crossed, with a bit of sailing we should be fine. It's 7:30 in the evening, and as promised by the oracle of the weather forecast, we have wind that we can sail. We had up to 21 knots actually in apparent wind. Now it's down to 14. We're still doing 5.3, so the same speed as we did before on the engine, but now much less stressful on the sail, and we're plodding along nicely, so hope that will continue for a long time, and if that's the case, then we should be able to sail for another day, so we shall see. quite an increase in wind speed. We now get a gust of 29, now down to 18, but that's still quite a bit. We put in the second reef in the main now. We were quite overpowered, and even now we're still doing 7 knots over ground, which is pretty good actually. Seems to have calmed down a bit, at least a bit. We're down to 16 to 20, but if you look at what we had up to 30 knots in gusts. Was a bit lively, but now it's better. We're still doing 7.5 knots. That's very good. 400 nautical miles to go. We've done 155 so far, and we hope that maybe well, the good thing is the more it blows, the faster we'll be in. And it's 11:15 in the evening now, so everyone's asleep, except me, of course. It's midnight. My shift will be at the end at 1 o'clock, so another half an hour. Wind has calmed down quite a bit now. We're in the 15 to 20s, 21 maybe. With the following sea, it's quite okay now actually. We're still doing almost 7 knots, 2 reefs in. The boat feels well balanced and nice and upright, so we're not heeling. I think those who go to sleep, or those who sleep, they might have had at least some rest without being tossed around too much. We are now well south of Sørkamp, of the island of Svalbard. Down here we just see Bjørnøya coming into the picture, and we have 390 nautical miles to do, so progressing well. Obviously that's pretty fast. Predicts 58 hours, so that's a little bit more than 2 days. That would be in the early hours of Sunday. I give it until Sunday evening maybe. That would still be a very good passage. It's 12:15, Friday the 18th of July, and we're still on the way. We're about 50 nautical miles northwest of Bjørnøya. We have 325 nautical miles to go to Tromsø, cruising at the moment at the speed of about 5 to 6 knots. The wind is 12 knots from about 60-70 degrees, so that's quite a good angle actually. We like that. The sea state is quite flat, and it's actually quite nice sailing now. The wind is forecast to die off later on, probably through the night, during the night, and then we might have to motor for about a day, so we shall see how that pans out, but so far it's great. We see blowouts from some whales on the starboard side, but sadly they are too far away for a good picture. the wind has now died. We currently have like 7 knots only from about 40 degrees or from forward, which is just not for efficient sailing. We would probably made about 4 knots with that or so, which given where we are in which seas we sail, and also given we really want to make this an efficient crossing, is not an option. We have enough diesel now, so we decided to motor sail to maintain a good speed and to hopefully make it back in on Sunday evening, Sunday night. I think you're always too late. It's 1 o'clock Saturday morning. I'm in my last hour of night watch. Catherine will relieve me at 2 o'clock in the morning. We have 253 nautical miles to go to Tromsø. I still hope that we'll have an ETA on Sunday evening. That would be great. We're doing about 6 knots over ground under engine. We have slight winds from about 30 degrees in the front, so nothing to sail with, and we have the mainsail up. We're doing a motor sail, and it's all rather uneventful so far. We have seen a few dolphins and whales during the day, but now it's very calm, not a lot going on, everybody's asleep. Sunday the 20th of July, quarter to 12 in the morning. We have just about an hour ago crossed the Norwegian territorial waters, 12-mile zone, and we're inbound. We can see land now. The sun is out, the wind is off. I think we're going to take the sails down now because they're just flapping and wearing on the whole structure. So that's the plan. We have another 46 nautical miles to go to Tromsø, and our ETA is about 6 to 7 in the evening. So we're almost done. Everything went well so far. Now we just need to get it through the last couple of nautical miles. It's really summer here now. The sun is out and it's 15 degrees. I don't know when last we had 15 degrees. That was probably about a year ago or so. That's quite strange. So soon I will have to put on my shorts and t-shirt. It's summer. Oh. It's okay. It's nice. It's summer. It's almost 20 degrees, and time to get
White
some sun.
arms, white
Time to get
legs.
some suntan.
Nice t-shirt.
From New Orleans. Okay, so take this. 555 nautical miles ago, I said we got to be here in this tidal gate around 3 to 4 to 5. Not before 3 and not after 7 to get through. Now guess where we are? We are in the plain middle of it. It's pulling us through with 3 knots, and we didn't have to stop or to accelerate, we just bang on. That's seamanship.
We are not sponsored, but
It's okay, but I've eaten much better on this trip than this.
yeah, but we just bought this because it's easy to make.
Because you never know.
Yes, what happens.
No, it's okay. As we sail back into the familiar waters of Tromsø, 33 days after we first cast off, the journey begins to replay in our minds. This trip took us far beyond our comfort zones. At times it was physically demanding, at times mentally challenging. The highs were very high and the lows could feel just as steep. But every mile north brought something extraordinary. We reached the remote and mysterious island of Bjørnøya, with its lovely weather station and long quiet history. We sailed among drifting icebergs, we watched the polar bear sleeping on the shore and walrus resting heavily along the coast. In Svalbard, we saw sharp contrasts. The lively streets of Longyearbyen, full of visitors and activity. Barentsburg, the old Russian mining town that still feels frozen in the Soviet area. And Ny-Ålesund, a quiet international research station today, but also a former mining town, and a place where Roald Amundsen began his airship journey to the North Pole. 3 very different communities, all built on coal, but shaped in their own way by life in the high Arctic. Everywhere we looked, the past was still present. Old hunting stations, abandoned ventures, reminders of human ambition preserved by the cold and the dry Arctic air, left untouched for decades, sometimes centuries. But what stayed with us most was the landscape itself, the raw beauty of it. Jagged, snow-capped mountains rising straight from the sea, endless glaciers, small signs of life holding on in a harsh and fragile environment. We sailed through strong winds and thick fog, through drizzle and bright sunshine, and yes, we burned a fair bit of diesel along the way. And now, as the lines are tight and the engine finally falls silent in Tromsø, one feeling rises above the rest. Gratitude. Gratitude that Polaris brought us safely home, and gratitude that we were able to experience a small part of this remarkable corner of the world. But our sailing season is far from over yet, and we enjoy an extraordinary autumn here in the far north. Join us next time when we embark on a tour outside the islands of Senja and Vesterålen before we return to our safe winter harbour ahead of the Arctic winter storms.